When Basic Instinct hit theaters in March of 1992, it was not just another thriller. It arrived like a cultural incident. Before many people had even bought a ticket, the movie was already tangled up in arguments over sex, violence, censorship, representation, and hype. It was being protested in the streets, trimmed to avoid an NC-17 rating, and sold on the kind of notoriety Hollywood usually tries to survive, not invite. And that is what makes the real story so fascinating. Underneath the scandal was an unusually expensive, unusually polished studio gamble, a movie that looked disreputable on the surface, but was built with top-tier craftsmanship and a level of confidence that now feels very specific to the early 1990s. At the time, Basic Instinct seemed like slick adult provocation dressed up as a murder mystery. And in one sense, that is exactly what it was. Joe Eszterhas's screenplay had touched off a bidding war and sold to Carolco for a then-record $3 million, making it one of the hottest scripts in Hollywood before a frame had even been shot. That alone told you what the industry thought it was buying, not art house danger, but premium commercial danger. The kind of movie that could promise taboo, suspense, movie star glamour, and big mainstream business all at once. Then Paul Verhoeven came in to direct, and that changed the temperature. Verhoeven was already known for making aggressive, highly controlled popular cinema that could play as both pulp and satire. In the American cinematographer coverage produced during release, he described Basic Instinct as a murder mystery with noir elements, but said he and his team wanted it more white than black. That is a revealing phrase. Classic noir usually hides in shadows. Basic Instinct often does the opposite. It puts corruption, manipulation, and danger in bright spaces, expensive houses, clean lines, and coastal light. That decision gave the movie its strange identity. Part Hitchcock game, part luxury product, part psychological trap. The basic setup is simple enough. Michael Douglas plays Nick Curran, a San Francisco detective investigating the killing of a rock star. The prime suspect is Catherine Trammell, a wealthy novelist played by Sharon Stone, whose fiction seems to anticipate the crime. Nick starts leaning into the case, and then into Catherine herself, until the investigation becomes less a search for facts than a contest of nerve, ego, and control. That is really all you need to know, because the story's importance lies less in the puzzle than in the way the film turns suspicion into style. But even before cameras rolled, the production was unstable. Eszterhas and producer Irwin Winkler left the project in 1990 over creative differences with Carolco, Verhoeven, and Michael Douglas. A rewrite was commissioned. Then, according to later trade history accounts collected by the AFI catalog, Verhoeven eventually moved back toward Eszterhas's original structure, keeping only smaller dialogue changes and added visual ideas. So the movie that reached theaters had already survived a very Hollywood identity crisis. Was it going to be a raw commercial thriller or a more aggressively stylized Verhoeven picture? In the end, it became both. Casting made the gamble even riskier. Michael Douglas was already a bankable star, and exactly the kind of actor audiences trusted in smart, upscale thrillers. Catherine Trammell was harder. Several actresses were considered, and some reportedly rejected the role because they found the material too misogynistic. AFY's production history notes that Verhoeven pushed for Sharon Stone against everybody's advice, partly because she was still the lesser-known choice. She had been in Total Recall, but she was not yet a major star. If Basic Instinct failed, she could disappear with it. If it worked, the movie would effectively create her in real time. And then came the external pressure. Activist groups objected to the script's portrayal of bisexual and lesbian characters before release, and protests followed the production into San Francisco. Contemporary reporting and the AFI record show that demonstrations tried to disrupt filming at multiple locations, and that filmmakers even obtained a temporary restraining order to keep protesters away from the set. The film was not simply controversial after it opened. It was controversial while it was still being made, which meant the production was carrying political pressure, media pressure, and commercial pressure at the same time. What is easy to miss now is how professional and ambitious the physical production really was. This was not cheap sensationalism. American cinematographer reported a 70-day shoot, with about half of it on location in San Francisco and Monterey, and about 35 days on the Warner lot, where major sets were built, including part of the San Francisco Hall of Justice. Verhoeven, cinematographer Jan de Bont, and production designer Terrence Marsh were designing a thriller with a luxury finish: bright coastal exteriors, elaborate interiors, carefully controlled color, and set pieces staged on a big scale. Even the climactic car crash at Moscone Center was conceived as something operatic, with a Lotus launched into a construction pit rather than yet another chase over the city's famous hills. That craft extended to the film's look. De Bont and Verhoeven deliberately avoided treating noir as pure darkness. Marsh said the goal was to let terrible things unfold behind an idyllic facade of beach houses and ocean views. That gives Basic Instinct its unnerving visual logic. It is a noir of glass, stone, water, and white light. The danger is not hidden in alleyways. It is sitting in a beautiful room, daring you to come closer. Then the movie met the ratings board. In February 1992, the Los Angeles Times reported that Verhoeven had to make trims to avoid an NC-17, with the MPAA reportedly reviewing the film or portions of it 7 times. The cuts were described as minor, but the message was major. Basic Instinct was pushing right up against what a major studio release could still get away with. And Carolco and Verhoeven had to deliver an R-rated picture to TriStar. So by release, the film had already survived a script war, casting risk, set protests, and a ratings battle. And here is the payoff. The part that still makes people ask, how did this happen? It worked. Not quietly either. The film opened wide on March 20th, 1992, took in just over $15 million on its first weekend, and eventually reached about $117.7 million domestic and roughly $352.7 million worldwide, making it one of the biggest films of the year worldwide. It also earned 2 Oscar nominations for Frank J. Urioste's editing and Jerry Goldsmith's score. That matters, because it reminds us that Basic Instinct was not merely a scandal machine. Hollywood's own institutions recognized the precision behind it. The reviews were mixed, and that is part of the story too. Some critics admired its nerve and star power. Others saw it as manipulative, overheated, or empty. Roger Ebert, in a sharply divided response, thought it was expertly engineered but emotionally arbitrary. That split never really went away. But mixed reviews did not stop the film from defining an era. In retrospect, Basic Instinct stands as perhaps the clearest expression of the early 1990s adult studio thriller. Expensive, glossy, dangerous, and aimed unapologetically at grown-ups. Later critics and institutions have repeatedly folded it into the neo-noir tradition, even when they acknowledge how abrasive it is. And maybe that is the real legacy. Basic Instinct still matters not just because it was provocative, or because it made Sharon Stone a star, or because one interrogation scene became permanent pop culture shorthand. It matters because it captured a brief moment when mainstream Hollywood would spend serious money on something sleek, disreputable, adult, and risky, and then watch that risk turn into a worldwide event. It is a movie about obsession and manipulation, but its own history tells a parallel story of an industry willing for one strange moment to package danger as prestige pulp and send it into the center of popular culture. That is why Basic Instinct remains more than a controversy. It is a time capsule of what the movies once dared to be.